Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable, and this is my head-to-head review of two of my favourite max cushion daily trainers. We've got the Neo Vista 2 in the house and the ASICS Megablast. So in this review, these two shoes will be going head-to-head. I'll tell you what I like about both shoes, what I don't like about them. We'll rate them, compare them against each other in some key categories, and at the end of this review, I'll let you know which of these two I think is the better shoe. But before that, please watch the run footage to get a better idea of what I felt about both shoes running side by side in them. Hi everyone, it's Ed from Midsole. Hope you're well. I'm here in my local park, Oak Hill Park. I'm going to do a bit of side-to-side comparison of two of my favourite max cushion super shoes. Well, they're not really super shoes, super daily trainers maybe. They both came out this year. I love them both for different reasons, but I think there'll be a good comparison because there are some similarities, but they are very different in many ways, and they'll suit different types of people. So without further ado, the shoes are, couldn't look any different either. So on my left foot I've got the Neo Vista 2, on my right foot I've got the ASICS Megablast. I've probably done about, well, way over 100 miles in the Neo Vista 2, and in the Megablast I've done at least 100k, getting on for maybe 150k. So I've got enough now to kind of know quite a bit about both shoes, what I like about them, what I don't like about them. We'll discuss it on the run, and then back at the house we'll do a kind of head-to-head comparison, and by the end of the review we'll know which I think is the better of the two shoes. Anyway, thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, so as I said in the intro, I've got the Neo Vista 2 on my left foot, and I've got the Megablast on my right foot, and straight away you can feel the difference. So just even listening, if you listen to the way I'm striking my feet, if you can hear it through all these bird noises, you can hear one's more of a slap and the other one is kind of less of a slap, let's just say, quieter. So the slap is the Megablast, and the quieter one is the Neo Vista 2. And the really noisy one are the birds who are freaking out over something. Anyway, so if we compare the feeling of both, the Neo Vista 2 is definitely softer on foot, so when you land your foot sinks a little bit into it, whereas the Megablast, it feels a lot firmer to me, not unreasonably firm but just firmer, and so you get a nice ping when you land, because you do get some compression but you get very quick decompression, much quicker than you get with the Neo Vista 2. The nice thing about the Neo Vista 2 though is it's so soft and bouncy. Okay, you're not getting quick decompression, so this is not going to be the most lively of shoes to use when you want to go fast, right? But they're still pretty good for just bounding along like I'm doing now, and we'll do a bit of a speed test in a minute. But right this minute I definitely feel like the Megablast is the quicker of the two shoes. Another key difference is the upper. So with the Neo Vista you've got this booty fit upper that's actually quite high volume, it's quite cavernous, and for me, I haven't got my insole in because I didn't want to ruin this comparison by changing the properties of the shoe. But for me, I normally have an insole in the Neo Vista 2, so my foot doesn't feel like it's in some gigantic cave. I mean an extra insole, Whereas with the Megablast you don't need any of that because it's a lot less volume, maybe even slightly too, the volume's too tight, and maybe it would have been good having slightly more volume because your toes get a little bit crushed in this shoe if you're not careful, if you've got wider feet. So those of you who normally wear wide shoes, you've got to be careful with the Megablast, and the Neo Vista might actually be a better fit for you. The Neo Vista as well, the upper material, it's thicker and hotter, so in the summer you might find it a bit warm, but it's definitely stretchier than the Megablast. So with the Megablast, once your foot's in it, it's not going to stretch that much. It's got a nice lightweight mesh upper, but it is, you know, will keep your foot in place. But with the Neo Vista 2, it's a lot more stretchy. It's that knit material that kind of wraps around your foot, or at least would do if it wasn't so, there wasn't so much volume. And that's my big downside with the Neo Vista upper. It's too high volume, and the downside with the Megablast is the opposite. It's too low volume, so that might have a bearing on which one of these you pick based on how big your feet are, how wide they are, how fat your toes are. Because your toes, if they're fat like mine, you might need a little bit more space, but maybe not as much space as you have with the Neo Vista. So that's the uppers. In terms of the outsoles, both pretty grippy. I'd say they're very similar actually. Both seem quite soft outsoles, but with enough traction and you know, deep enough tracks to grip the ground well. I don't think either are tier 1 in terms of the rubber. They're not up with light traction or some of the Puma grip out there, but they're still pretty good, to be honest, and I don't think you have much problems with these two. Much better, particularly when we talk about the Megablast. I think it's a better outsole than both Super Blasts, although similar to Super Blast 2, and much better than the Nova Blast 5. Okay, so that's the outsole. Okay, so now we get to the midsole, which we talked a little bit about it. Both bouncy, but in different ways. Like I said earlier, the Megablast is a bit firmer, still has a nice ping to it, but you don't sink in to the shoe much, or at least I'm not. If you're heavier, you might. So just bear that in mind. So that to me means should be better for going faster, whereas the Neo Vista 2, I'm definitely sinking in a little bit even at my weight. So if you're really heavy, you will sink into it. It's not necessarily a problem because this foam, this aliphatic TPU, which by the way is in both shoes, just very different properties in both, you know, is really good, has got really good energy return. So you get a nice spring back, just a slower decompression, like I said, in the Neo Vista. Both really nice. The geometry, slightly prefer the rocker in the Megablast, I have to say. It's just a bit nicer, but it's just a bit more speedy, but both are pretty good. The geometry I don't think is a problem in either. They're not what I would say is having huge early stage rockers or anything like that, so you know, you get a flattish feel when you land, but both have got a later stage rocker, but in particular the Megablast, probably because it's a bit firmer, you roll through a little bit easier in this shoe, so that's another thing to consider. What else? The weight. So Megablast seems considerably lighter on foot. Considerably, actually. I wonder how much it is, but it feels like at least 40 grams lighter, right? Could be. So yeah, if that matters to you, and it might do, given that they're both equally max stack, it's quite impressive how light the Megablast actually is, right? Right, both going uphill now. This is where the weight should come into play. Yeah, again, Megablast slightly better for going up the hills. I feel like, to summarise, what we have here is two shoes that are similar in terms of size and stack, but very different in terms of feel. So if you want something soft and bouncy, then the Neo Vista 2 is going to be your shoe. It's just a little bit, you know, saps your energy a little bit more, but it is lovely and soft, good for just plodding. Whereas the Megablast, I think, is a bit firmer, a bit more quicker decompression, so it springs you forward quicker with a nice pang of a bounce rather than us kind of sinking and then bounce. And you're going to be able to pick up the speed a bit more in this shoe, the Megablast. Feels lovely and light, and probably less of a recovery shoe than the Neo Vista 2. Still a great shoe, but I feel like Neo Vista 2 is going to be good for up to marathon pace, and that's about it. Where the Megablast, I actually think some people could race in this shoe. And that's it, folks. Stand by for the full review. See you soon. Bye bye. Okay, let's go through some key stats around these two shoes. In terms of weight, we have a clear winner here. The ASICS Megablast is a really lightweight shoe considering the size of it. It's a real beast of a shoe when you look at it. But in terms of weight, it's around 240 grams in my UK size 9.5. I went up half a size, mainly because of this low volume upper. We'll talk about the upper in a bit. I think that was the right call. It definitely does not run long, this shoe. So if in doubt, if you've got a wide foot, high volume foot, perhaps you should go up half a size. Otherwise, true to size should be fine. The Neo Vista, well, this shoe actually comes in a bit heavier, 284 grams. So roughly 44 grams heavier, 45 grams heavier. So it's a decent amount heavier. You can feel that when I ran side by side with the Neo Vista on my left foot and the Megablast on my right foot, I could definitely tell the difference in weight. So definitely the heavier shoe. In terms of the fit, again, I went up half a size. I would suggest you don't do that. I would go true to size in this shoe. I ended up with a lot of volume in this shoe. I think it's a high volume shoe. If you've got wide feet and you've got high volume feet, you should be absolutely fine in this shoe. No need whatsoever to size up at all. I should have listened to people, but I didn't, and that's my mistake. I've got a lot of volume in this shoe, so much so that I actually put in an extra insole to keep my foot in place, because it feels like a bit of a cavern inside this forefoot area in particular. Okay, in terms of the stack heights for the Neo Vista 2, we've got 45 millimeters in the heel, and we've got an 8 millimeter drop. That means we've got 37 in the forefoot. Exactly the same for the Megablast, 45, 37, 8 millimeter drop. So remarkably similar in that respect, but that's kind of where the similarities end with these shoes, apart from the fact they're both max cushion, as you can see. Okay, So with the Neo Vista, the upper, you've got this knit all-in-one booty style upper. Like I said, it's quite high volume, so you get a lot of space. For those with narrow, low volume feet, when you slip your foot in here, it's definitely not going to feel like Cinderella's slipper. It's going to feel cavernous, right? Even with my wide foot and fat toes, I had to put an extra insole in. So I think for some people, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare of an upper. It's also quite thick, and which means it gets quite hot. So all in all, for certain people, they're not going to like this upper. If you don't like this booty construction fit, you're not going to like it either. I quite like it. I preferred the upper though in the Neo Vista 1 to the Neo Vista 2. But it does fit my foot. It's a little bit big, but with the insole, I cope well. This area here, there's pretty much minimal heel collar whatsoever and a very flexible heel counter, but that works for me. I get a nice lockdown in the shoe. I do cinch the laces tight in here, but it's got a nice, you can see that rubber there. You can really wrap and tighten it and cinch them on top of that rubber pillow there, and you get a really nice lockdown. So for me, not a problem with the lockdown in this shoe whatsoever. In terms of the upper, because it's a little bit too big and because it's a little bit too hot, I'm just going to score it a mark down at 4. Other than that though, I think it's a pretty decent effort of an upper. And it, you can see here, you've got some reinforcements as well. So, you know, all in all, the main things that it does, like keeping a good lockdown, not rubbing so much on your toes, that kind of thing, it does well. So in terms of the main things around the upper, I think it does reasonably good in terms of the lockdown. It's just, as I said, I've marked it down simply because I think it is too high volume. And for those of you that have narrow feet, you're going to really struggle keeping your foot without sliding around at the front here. So that's the upper for the Neo Vista. Now for the Megablast, it's almost the opposite. You've got a really lightweight, breathable upper this time, but you've got low volume, right? It may look like it's big there, but actually what you're seeing there is a lot of sole flare. And the upper itself, it's really low volume, so your feet get a bit of a rubbing in this shoe. Whereas with the Neo Vista, you get absolutely none of that. In this shoe, you do get some rubbing, particularly if you take it on those long 20-mile runs. I did a 20-mile run in this, and my little toes were getting rubbed side here quite considerably. I think it is easing though. It's slightly becoming more malleable, but that's another thing around this upper. It's not that flexible. Compare it to Neo Vista, which really is, you know, expands to your foot shape, this knit material. This is a little bit harsher, you can feel it scratchier, and a little bit less malleable, a little bit less stretchy. It does wrap nicely around your foot, but if you've got a large foot that requires a lot of volume, you may struggle in this shoe. I would advise you guys to go up half a size, like I've already mentioned. Laces wise, you've got these nice ridged laces. I think they're probably a little bit better than the laces, just the normal stretchy laces you get in the Neo Vista. Tongue wise, you've got some nice pads here to really cinch the laces down. This is a booty knit all-in-one construction. There is no tongue. Here you've got a tongue, kind of like loose, but it stays in place. It's wide enough, it's long enough. I had no issues whatsoever with the tongue. You've got far more heel collar padding here and counter than you've got with the Neo Vista 2, as you can see, which is quite remarkable given how light this shoe is, and you still get that level of padding, which is really impressive. You've got a lot firmer, a really firm actually, heel counter. I can't push that in. So those of you that have some issues with those type of heel counters, where you get some rubbing on your heel or Achilles, you might have some issues there. I didn't actually, it felt fine, but there's a similar heel counter in the Mag Max, Puma Mag Max. It felt something similar, but I did get more rubbing in that shoe. So for whatever reason, this one suits me fine. Maybe it's got a little bit more padding. So all in all, I really liked it actually. I got really good lockdown. I think the laces are great. I cinched the laces nice and tight. The only issue I had was with the foot rubbing, toe rubbing. So I'm going to mark it down half a mark for that. But all in all, I think this is a better upper than on the Neo Vista, which is a little bit too baggy, a little bit too hot. I'm going to score this 4.5 out of 5 for the Megablast, for the upper. The outsoles, very similar now. You can see they've both got this kind of soft rubber, slightly more coverage in the Neo Vista 2, but you've got slightly deeper traction in the Megablast. And you've got with the, you can see with the Neo Vista. I've done more miles in this shoe, but I've done over 100k in the Megablast now. Both grip really well in wet conditions. I think they're about tier 2, not quite as good as the Adidas Light Traction or some of the Puma grips you can get, but pretty much just a level down from that. You'll have absolutely no problems with either of these shoes. And considering how poor the Super Blast Original and the Nova Blast 5, the grip was, this is a real step forward in the Megablast. So both I'm going to score the same, 4 out of 5. Not quite tier 1, but they do the job. I would just say the only downsides are these big caverns in the Neo Vista, which catch rocks and stones. And for the Megablast, you've got a bit more exposed stone here and less rubber coverage. Midsole now, this is where they differ hugely. With the Neo Vista, you've got this really soft Energy Next midsole, which is aliphatic TPU. It really is soft. You can squeeze it in, look. So I think it's one of the softest midsoles out there for these max cushion daily trainers. When you land in this shoe, you really do compress it. If you're heavier than me, you're going to really compress it, and you get a decompression and a nice bounce, but it's not a quick decompression which throws you forward. It's kind of a nice bounce. You sink and then you bounce. It has good energy return, this shoe. So although you sink quite a bit in this shoe, it doesn't absolutely zap your energy, a bit like the Neo Zen can. It's also got this nylon plate, which also helps with that. It means that you don't sink all the way down, and also you get a little bit of pop from the plate. So all in all, I think this is a great midsole. It's got like kind of later stage rocker. You don't really feel when you land, because you sink in it, you don't really feel much of a roll forward, but it's kind of a good shoe for just bounding along. You don't get a quick roll forward, and for that reason, I think the midsole's more suited to kind of recovery runs, slow running, up to marathon pace in this shoe. But absolutely lovely midsole. It's great for just bounding along, like I said, protecting your feet, cushioning your legs, and making you feel really nice. I mean, I've started running a lot with work with a heavy rucksack with all my gear for work in there. And this is a shoe I often pick because it just protects my legs, because it's much heavier, you know, an extra kg, which is quite a lot actually, and if you feel it, this really does protect my legs. So midsole wise, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5. I really love it. It's one of my favourite midsoles for daily trainers, for max cushion daily trainers. With the Megablast, it's different. You've got it's aliphatic TPU, but it's a lot firmer. When you land, you feel a bit of a slap. You get a compression and then a quicker decompression. So this one does throw you forward a little bit more. And when you up the pace, this responds. Again, you get a lot of energy back from this, but you get less sinkage in this shoe. I think you're going to get less foot fatigue in this because of that. You may I mean, I've done 20-mile runs in this, and to be honest, it's not too bad because of the plate. But with this shoe, you're going to have none of that. Your feet don't have to do too much work in this shoe. You get this nice land, compression, decompression, and it throws you forward a little bit. It's not a ridiculous throw forward, so it doesn't feel unstable. It's just enough to give you that nice kind of momentum to keep you flowing through your stride. Again, you heavier runners, you're going to love this because you're going to compress the foam a little bit more than me and get more of that energy return, more of that decompression to throw you forward. So all in all, I love this midsole as well. I love the foam in both. I think this is another 5 out of 5 for different reasons. I think this is less good at recovery pace, but better at that marathon pace and beyond. I think this is going to be a shoe that some people could even race in, which is certainly not the case with the Neo Vista. You might argue this is a little bit more versatile in that respect. And I do feel for you heavier runners, this is a real option at marathon, for your marathons, potentially half marathons, where you don't want something that's plated. Right, let's talk about some other key categories. Let's first talk about stability. So both of them have wide bases, really wide bases, all the way through from forefoot to heel. So both are pretty good for heel striking. I would say the cavern, you've got some caverns here, but you do have this nylon plate to steady the ride a little bit in the Neo Vista 2. It is a softer foam though, so you do get a little bit more lateral and medial bounce. You get slightly more irregular bounce when you really do hit the ground with force in the Neo Vista 2. With the Megablast, this feels ultra stable to me, partly because you've got these lovely sole flare here. You've got this very rigid material here to keep your ankle nice and locked in, so you get less of this than you do in the Neo Vista 2. All in all, I think this is the more stable shoe, the Megablast. I would say this is a 4.5 out of 5. The Neo Vista, despite being very soft, is still fairly stable, and despite having these huge caverns. But it's more like a 4 out of 5. Both shoes are going to be okay. They're both neutral shoes. They're not stable shoes, but both will be okay unless you've got real stability needs. I should say with the Neo Vista, you do have some structure to the upper, but it's still quite soft and flimsy. So it's not as good in terms of being as rigid and keeping your foot as locked in with that center path technology as you've got with the Megablast. In terms of durability, I've done way over 100 miles in this shoe, and in this shoe about 100 kilometers. Both are wearing really well. I've got slight wear, you can see on the lateral side there where the tread is wearing away a little bit with the Neo Vista 2, but have done a lot more miles. But I'd say both are going to be pretty durable shoes. I'd say they're both up at 4 out of 5. I would actually say maybe I actually would give the Megablast 4.5, just because I know about the properties. ASICS kind of make more durable shoes. This is still a very durable shoe, so both around about 4.5 out of 5. I'll just give it slight to the Megablast. I just feel like, because it's firmer, because I know the Super Blast and the Super Blast 2 are really good shoes in terms of durability, I think this will be too. So I'll edge it, the Megablast, in this category. But as I said, I haven't done 300, 400 miles yet, so I don't know for sure. So take that with a pinch of salt. In terms of pace, speed, there's only one winner here. It's the Megablast. This is firmer, a bit more responsive, a little bit more of a ping and a bounce. When you land, you really do flow a bit more in this shoe, and you compress, but you get that quicker decompression. With the Neo Vista, it's a bounders shoe, but you do sink into it a little bit and you lose a bit of that energy because of that. The plate stabilizes you somewhat, but not enough to compensate and make it as quick a shoe as the Megablast. Like I said, the Neo Vista I think is good for going recovery up to marathon pace, but the Megablast I think is really good at marathon pace and even a bit quicker. Some could even take this on a race or actually do track work. So Megablast I'm going to give 4.5 out of 5 for speed in terms of max cushion daily trainer, and for the Neo Vista it's by no means terrible, but it's more like a 3.5 out of 5. That's not what this shoe is for. Okay, price now. Clear winner in the Neo Vista. I've actually seen this recently down around the £129 mark, which is an absolute bargain for this shoe. Honestly, you know, if you can get it at that price, pick it up. It'd be a great recovery shoe for you guys. Whereas the Megablast still is around £210. That's massive, really overpriced. I love the shoe, but I can't justify that. So in terms of scoring, because this is right down there now at the same level as the Evo SL, came out at £150, but as I said, you can now get it for around about £130. This is a 5 out of 5 for value. Megablast is about 2.5. Okay, if you've got the money, maybe it's worth it, but I just feel like that's too much for any kind of daily trainer. So that's value. Now let's talk about what they're good for. As I've already said, this is more of a recovery run shoe up to marathon pace. If you try and go beyond marathon pace, you really will struggle. This will sap your energy because you'll sink a lot into the shoe because you're landing harder. So I wouldn't even bother trying to race in this shoe or even doing intervals or major tempo runs in this shoe. Whereas with the Megablast, I do think you could race in this shoe. I do think you could take this on intervals or do tempo runs. I think you can go marathon pace and beyond in this shoe. And I think they are very different. This is a much better recovery run shoe because of how soft and how cushioned it is. This though is far better at putting your foot down and going for it. So I think there's clear differences with these shoes, which makes me think you could actually have both of them in your rotation if you can afford it. But I have to compare. I would say just the Megablast is slightly more versatile, just because you could do your recovery runs in this shoe. It's not too harsh either. Whereas this shoe I think would be absolutely lousy to race in. So that's my feeling about what they're good for. Okay, finally, which of these two shoes do I think is the winner today? It was a clear winner for me. It's the ASICS Megablast. Apart from price, it pretty much wins every round. I would say though, those that like that soft bouncy feel, you may prefer the Neo Vista 2, and if you've got wide feet, high volume feet, you may have no choice because this could be a bit of a nightmare to get into. It might crush your toes. But in pretty much every category apart from price, the Megablast wins. It's probably, for me, a shoe that I would use more often just because I think it's more versatile. I think I could even race in it. I could do 20-mile races. I wouldn't have a qualm of racing in this shoe. I probably wouldn't, but I could. If I was injured and I had some ankle issues but still wanted to race, this would be a good choice for me, I think, whereas this wouldn't. I think I slightly prefer the upper of the Megablast. I just think it's more breathable. It's tight, but then it's got that racy feel, and it feels like my foot is nice and locked in. It's less hot than the Neo Vista 2. And all in all, I just feel like this shoe is something special. And although I love the Neo Vista 2, and I think at £130, you should all go out and buy it because it's an absolute bargain, a great shoe at that price. I just think this is something special. It's right up there with the Evo SL. And I can't say that about many shoes. ASICS Megablast today is my overall winner. Hope you find this comparison review useful. Please put in the comments if you agree with me or disagree with me, your thoughts on both shoes, and if there's any other shoe you'd like me to compare either of these two with, let me know. Love you all. See you soon. Bye bye.